Hello everyone and welcome to the Country Music Hall of Fame and Museum's weekly series Songwriter Session, presented by our friends at SunTrust. I'm Michael McCall. I have the great privilege of working here in this great institution. And for the next 45 minutes, you get the great privilege of hearing Ingrid Andress perform solo on piano on stage at the museum's CMA Theater. You viewers are our only audience for the show. There's nobody in the crowd, so this show is for you. Between songs, Ingrid and I will talk about her career and her songwriting, and afterwards, please join Ingrid on Instagram for an audience Q&A. And we encourage you to submit questions, and it's your chance to kind of talk directly to her. But why don't we start with a song? Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Ingrid Andress, everybody.
Casual, you're keeping it casual. Nothing too meaningful and nothing irrational. No. So why do you text me saying you miss me? Staying in my place, it's kinda confusing. You're blurring the lines, you're playing two sides. Just make up your mind. You can tell me to stay, you can push me away, have space or get close, but you can't do both. You can kiss me goodnight or kiss me goodbye, baby, love me or don't, but you can't do both. Impossible, you make it impossible to know what you really want. It's so irresponsible, yeah. So what does it mean when you're telling me secrets? I'm spilling mine and we're just getting deeper. You're blurring the lines, you're playing two sides. Just make up your mind. You can tell me to stay, you can push me away, have space or get close, but you can't do both. You can kiss me goodnight or kiss me goodbye, baby, love me or don't, but you can't do both. Ooh, no. You can tell me to stay, you can push me away, have space or get close, but you can't do both. You can kiss me goodnight or kiss me goodbye, baby, love me or don't, but you can't do both. No, you can't do both. Ooh, no. So why do you text me saying you miss me? Staying in my place, it's kinda confusing. You're blurring the lines, you're playing two sides. Just make up your mind.
Yeah, beautiful. So now that you've heard Ingrid, I want to tell you a little bit about her. She made a dramatic entrance into country music with her single, More Hearts Than Mine, which became a #1 at country radio at a time when radio was playing very few women artists and even fewer new women artists. For Ingrid to achieve such success underscores the sort of undeniable power of her songwriting and performing. More Hearts Than Mine dealt with timeless country subjects: new love, family, a concern about heartbreak. But the insightful part that she brought to it was that the song recognized that when a couple fall in love, that their families are involved as well. And it's not just those two hearts on the line, but everybody who loves them as well. And she does a great job of delving into that issue, I think. So
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And it's not, not just a great idea, but she performs it and arranges it so well and so sensitively that it really pulls you in and makes you think about, how your families have been involved in your love affairs. But like all overnight successes, Ingrid put a lot of time in and paid a lot of dues before a big breakthrough. Ingrid is born in Michigan. She grew up in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. She learned to play piano and drums while a member of the choir in high school, and she attended the prestigious Berklee School of Music, majoring in songwriting and performance. And I think you could see that she learned well. So she got her lessons well. I'm sure they're proud of her.
I was a terrible student, but yes.
So Ingrid has had songs recorded by BB Rexa, Charli XCX. Am I saying that right? And, and she's co-written with Sam Hunt, Alicia Keys, and many others. Ingrid's album Ladylike came out earlier this year and was a top 10 country album. Another great achievement for a newcomer. A deluxe version of Ladylike just came out a couple of weeks ago, and so it's good timing, and we're thrilled to have Ingrid on our stage tonight. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here.
So, what are the last song, and you do this a lot in your songs, you write where you're talking directly to one person in the song. Why is that compelling to you to write songs like that?
I really appreciate a good conversational song. I think a lot of the times when you learn how to songwrite, you think more metaphorically, and that's kind of been, and it's beautiful. Like I learned how to write that way, but there is something a little more relatable to, at least from my perspective, of just making it sound like you are talking to the person. Because it just puts you in that moment, and there's something really transcending about that kind of dialogue when you write, because it just puts you in that moment and you think that you're that person, even if that situation has never happened to you. It's just like you're there whether you like it or not. But I do appreciate, the metaphors of so many country songs, and not everything needs to be so literal, but for some reason my brain just thinks that way.
Right. Is there a challenge to that? Is there a way of making sure you get the sentences in meter? And
yeah, there is. It's very crafted. Sometimes I'll just write down like stream of consciousness of what I would actually say, and that makes it into the song because it just is like, oh, that sounds like something someone would say. And sometimes my songwriter brain gets a little too crafty, and like I love a good play on words, and but that's not how you would speak to somebody. So to me, it's more about how relatable can this be to everyone and not just me.
Right. And it's sort of a cliche to say, but that way of making something personal that's universal.
Yes.
That so many people can relate with both sides. You could be the person talking, you could have had somebody talk to you like that. Or maybe you didn't say it, but you're giving them the words that they wish they could have said.
Yep.
So
I love it.
Got another song ready for us?
I do, yes.
Great.
This one kind of piggybacks off of that. It's a new one on the deluxe album. And it is also very conversational about, it feels very relevant for this time, because I think all of us are, kind of confused about how we're feeling about everything. And so I wrote this song called Feeling Things very conversationally, just to get it off my chest. Songwriting is very therapeutic to me. So this is Feeling Things.
I'm alright, yeah, I said I'm alright. I don't wanna go out, there's so much on my mind. I like feeling good, yeah, I like to feel good. But there's only so much that a night out can do. People are good and people are ruthless, and I'm never too sure which ones do the most damage. So I shut down, keep everyone out, so no one wrecks my heart again. And it works for a while until it doesn't, 'cause I get lonely, no one to hold me, so I open up again. I fall, I bleed, and it stings, 'cause I miss feeling myself, I keep telling myself, don't pick up the phone, you don't need no one else. I watch the parades go by, but I'm not in them, and it makes me second guess what I'm doing. So I shut down, keep everyone out, so no one wrecks my heart again. And it works for a while until it doesn't, 'cause I get lonely, no one to hold me, so I open up again. I fall, I bleed, and it stings, 'cause I miss feeling things.
Nice, yes.
Thank
You
you.
mentioned that was written, about this time, and
Yeah.
did you write it after the pandemic started? Was it?
I actually wrote it a while ago.
Okay.
I wrote it before a lot of the songs on my album, and that's kind of like where everything started from going numb to being like, I just miss feeling all the things. And then every song after that was about feeling all the things. And I never really thought that I was going to put it out because it was so vulnerable. And then I realized that all of my songs are vulnerable.
Yeah.
So there's really no hiding anymore. So I just decided to put that out. And it's crazy how a song that even when you write it, years ago, the ones that remain present in your life just relate to so many different eras of your life. And that's why songwriting is so cool to me, is because I would have never known that there was a pandemic going to happen, and then here we are being like, oh, that's still relatable now.
Right. And it's funny how, some songs you may have written in the past, but if they keep coming up in your mind, it's a good sign, I think.
Yep.
So,
That was the one for me. I was like, oof, I still feel that.
Speaking, of the pandemic and the timing, your album came out March 27th.
Oh my, like literally the beginning
Right,
of the
I know.
pandemic. Yes.
I know, and
Great
I'm
time
sure
to
you-
release an album, your first album. Yeah.
And I'm sure you had big plans to how to be out in the world, playing those songs, marketing it,
We did.
talking about it.
Yes.
And
We had a lot of plans.
What do you feel about that, and how did you kind of shift?
At the beginning, I was extremely disappointed because, as a new artist, you are building up to the moment when you put out your first album, and then you get to tour with people who are amazing and bigger than you, and you get to experience what that's like. And so the expectation was there. And then to have that taken away, you kind of have to reset your brain to be like, okay, it's not like it's never going to happen. It's just been put on pause.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is that we can still listen to music. And that was probably the one thought that got me through, which was like, thank God we can still listen to whatever we want, because music has gotten me through a lot of ups and downs in my life. And so this is just another one of those up and down that music can fix and help.
I do think music has been especially important for people this year,
Yes.
as an outlet and as something to relate with and relate with other people. And
Yes.
since we're all going through so much struggle and feelings at
yeah.
times. So.
Yeah. And for me too, it's just like, I'm not the only one feeling all of these different emotions, and I just want to help as much as I can. And if that's just putting music out and giving some kind of distraction to people, like I love that too. It's like we're all in the same boat, literally, even amidst all the diversity that's happening, we all have the same emotions, and being able to provide some kind of soundtrack to people's lives is why I do what I do.
Did you write a lot? I've talked to some songwriters who said I just was too distracted to be able to write, even though I'm home and off the road and not recording. And others who said, I was like putting all kinds of things down, during
Right.
this time. So which side of that are you on?
Every day is different, for sure. At the beginning, I was like, what do I even, it just felt so heavy that or I can only speak for myself, but I was just like, I don't even know what's relevant anymore. So for the first 2 months, I did not write a single song because I was just so overwhelmed with the new pace and the new change and just how nobody knew what was going on. And so, but then as time passed and I got used to wherever we are now, it just became a new normal, and I found more things to write about because my thought process had changed based on how society changed, and I was able to write again. And it was I never forced it though. I feel like a lot of people sometimes feel like, you have to be productive as a songwriter, but if it's not real and it's not coming from a real place, at least for me, like some people are able to write and feel nothing, which is an amazing talent that I wish I had. But it's really hard for me to write something unless I have actual feelings about it. So I had to just wait for those feelings to come back.
Right. And I don't, imagine for the first 2 months, we didn't know it was going to still be where we are now.
Totally.
So it must have, you also probably were thinking, maybe in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So.
Yeah, I was like, oh, well, this is just, just a pause for now. I'll just stock up on toilet paper and I'll be fine. And yeah, I think everybody was kind of in a weird place at the beginning of it. And I have friends that are songwriters that just kept trucking and were just like, whatever. And I wish that could have been, in that time, I was so much like, why can't I get myself to write? But I got to know myself a lot more during this pandemic and realizing like, oh, you're a writer who actually needs to be in that situation to feel it.
Great. So what's up next for us? Huh?
Yes. This song was not inspired by the pandemic. It's another one that just is relevant for some reason. I feel like a lot of people have been spending more time than they usually do with their significant other due to quarantine. And I believe that quarantine's either going to end with lots of babies or lots of divorces. So wherever you fit in that category, amazing. But I think love for me and relationships are a choice that you make. And I grew up watching Disney movies, and Disney has lied to me my whole life because you don't just find your Prince Charming and you guys live happily ever after. Like, it's literally you wake up and you're like, okay, I believe it's a choice that you love somebody and make a commitment. So I wrote this song because I just needed a song to explain all those feelings that I had about love and relationship. So this is The Stranger.
I can't remember the last time we sat at the table, just the two of us, looked into each other's eyes and made the choice to choose us. Let's trace the steps of where we've been to make it feel like home again. And you play the stranger, I'll play the girl at the bar, the same place where this all got started. Sometimes I wish I didn't know you at all, so we could do it all over and fall all over each other again. the steps of where we've been to make it feel like home again. And you play the stranger, I'll play the girl at the bar, the same place where this all got started. Sometimes I wish I didn't know you at all, so we could do it all over and fall all over each other. Do it all over and fall all over each other again.
Nice. There's another one of those songs where, you know, you're saying it's a conversation and you're saying some very brave and so courageous and hard things to say to somebody. And
Yes,
so,
I'm a very straightforward person
Yeah, so-
most of the time.
yeah. There's also, I know the tequila shows up in that song, and I think it's at least a couple of your songs have tequila. You know? So
This is true.
is
yes.
that a reflection of, since you're being so honest, is that a reflection of, or does it just rhyme well? So
Right. Yes, I do love a good tequila beverage.
there you go.
Yeah.
You know, you obviously you're writing on piano, playing piano beautifully, but that's not necessarily what most country music artists do.
Right.
Talk about the difference of writing on piano as opposed to guitar or other instruments.
Yeah, when I first moved to Nashville, that was like the biggest thing that stuck out to me, because there are so many songs like, you know, I grew up listening to like The Dance, Garth Brooks, and like that was the first country song where I was obsessed with learning how to play it on piano. And so to me, I never thought that piano wasn't a popular instrument in country. And then I moved here about 6 or 7 years ago to Nashville, and you know, I showed up to a writing room to write a song, and they didn't have a keyboard. They had 3 guitars but no keyboard. And I was like, my first thought was, okay, well crap, I have to lag my keyboard around to every writing session now because nobody plays keyboard. But then my other thought was like, oh, well, that's such a bummer, you know, because it's such a beautiful instrument that has been used for forever in every genre. So I tried to take guitar lessons for a hot second, and it's fun. But, you know, I think piano is so emotional, and I'm such an emotional writer that I hear my songs in my head on this instrument. There are some songs I've written recently that are fun, and to me that's more guitar and just have a good time. And there's a time and place for those songs. You know, like I said earlier, songwriting is more therapeutic for me. And so if I'm trying to get something heavy off my chest or whatever, piano is where it comes out the best. And I feel like it just, you know, maybe that's because I know more chords on piano, or, you know, I'm sure if I actually knew how to play guitar well, I would feel the same way. But there's something about piano that really captures whatever emotional essence I'm trying to portray to people.
Right. And you mentioned the emotional part of it, and that really comes through, and how you chord and how that works with your voice, you know, I think in a different way than a guitar would.
Yes.
And it's also a chordal instrument, so does it change melodies? Does it change sort of construction? and
Oh,
craft
for
of the
sure.
songs?
I feel like that's probably why I write mostly sad songs or emotional songs, because, you know, I'm not Billy Joel, so I'm not like, you know, going crazy. He's like one of my idols. But to me, unless I'm singing blues or like, you know, rock, then up-tempo piano stuff to me can sound really cheesy in the country world. Like, you know, I have a song called Waste of Lime, and I will never play it on piano because it just sounds so bad. So there are some songs that I've written to where, you know, the chords are simpler, because on guitar, that's just easy and it feels good and you want people to feel good. But then piano to me, I feel like I'm telling more of a story because I can add more tension and you know, there's more movement for me on piano, whereas guitar is just, you know, 4 chords and the truth, which is amazing, but sometimes the concepts I want to write about need more than 4 chords.
Yeah. So you can be 5 chords in the truth.
5 chords in the truth.
So.
Yes. I would love that. Yes. As many chords as you want in the truth. There are so many beautiful, you know, chords out there. And that's kind of when I came to Nashville, is when everybody was in that 4 chord era. And I was just like, well, what about these chords? Yeah. And everyone was like, no, we don't do those. I'm like, okay, well, never mind.
Well, and it helps set you apart, I think. You know,
I guess so. Yeah, I did adapt a little bit, but I do think that I think sticking to what in your gut feels right for you is so important as a songwriter. And I really learned this town, Nashville, taught me, you know, all of the greats and all the people I look up to, they didn't follow the rules. They just showed up and were real human beings, and they just spoke their truth. And, you know, that's how country music started, and I hope it keeps going that way.
I think that's so true. If you look at some of the major shifts in country music, it often was somebody doing something really different.
Yes.
And then
saying
it
something
opened up
real.
a new way. Yeah. So whether it's going, you know, more pop and sometimes more traditional, but they did it in a different way and had their own voice, and it changed the direction for a while. So
yeah, it's all about the honesty and the authenticity. You know, country music should be talking about what people are experiencing in this country. I think that's why it's called country music. But what do I know? I'm new here.
You know, coming out of Berkeley, why Nashville? Obviously, you had that kind of talent and the way you performed. There's a lot of different directions you could have gone in. What attracted you to Nashville and country music?
I think the biggest thing that attracted me to Nashville and country music was the songwriting community that's here. You don't get that in LA. You don't get that in New York. And I visited all those places before I decided where I wanted to move. And Nashville just, it was one of those moments where you just kind of, it hits you in your gut and you're just like, I belong here. Like, it was the craziest feeling. And it was still tough. Like, I moved here and it is a grind. You know, the 10-year town thing is not a lie. And because you're just put into the city with so many talented people who all want to do the same thing. And so, you know, but the community in Nashville was just so, everybody wants you to do well. And everybody wants to write the best song they've ever written. And being around people who challenge themselves like that is so inspiring. And country music tells the best stories. I don't care what anybody says. The best stories that have been told have been in country music. And I wanted to be on that level. So I was like, well, I guess I got to move here because that's where everybody wrote all my favorite songs. So I got to be there.
Yeah, that's a great story about why Nashville is important, I think. And we're glad you're here. Obviously, you're adding a lot to the town. So,
well, you know, a little bit at a time.
Talking about story songs, so you have another one for us?
I do. I have the ultimate story song. Because once again, real life. The next song I'm going to play was inspired by true events. Actually, it was probably around this time a couple years ago. A year or two ago. Right before the holidays. And I was seeing somebody, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to introduce them to my family or not, because you kind of have to make that decision going into the holidays of like, okay, when is the right time? And I come from a family of 7 people, and we're all very close. And the last person I brought home to meet them, they still ask me about him to this day. And it's really not helpful. But it made me realize how much they truly care about whoever it is that you're dating. And they obviously, my family, are the most important people to me. So I wrote this song to sort of explain to whoever has the privilege of meeting my family, of what they're in for and what it means. So this is More Hearts Than Mine.
I can't wait to show you where I grew up. Walk you around the foothills of my town. You probably feel like you've been there before, after hearing all the stories I've been telling you for 6 months now. We'll probably have to sleep in separate bedrooms, pack a shirt for church because we'll go. Well, I'm not trying to scare you off, but I just thought that we should talk a few things out before we hit the road. If I bring you home to mama, I guess I better warn you. She falls in love a little faster than I do. And my dad will check your tires, pour your whiskey over ice, and take you fishing, but pretend that he don't like you. Oh, if we break up, I'll be fine, but you'll be breaking more hearts than mine. My sister's gonna ask a million questions and say anything she can to turn you red. And when you meet my high school friends, they'll buy you drinks and fill you in on all the crazy nights I can't outlive. So if I bring you home to mama, I guess I better warn you. She falls in love a little faster than I do. And my dad will check your tires, pour your whiskey over ice, and buy you dinner, but pretend that he don't like you. Oh, if we break up, I'll be fine, but you'll be breaking more hearts than mine. Oh, if I bring you home to mama, I guess I better warn you. She feels every heartache I go through. And if my dad sees me crying, he'll pour some whiskey over ice and tell a lie and say he never really liked you. Oh, if we break up, I'll be fine, but you'll be breaking more hearts than mine. You'll be breaking more hearts than mine.
You can hear why that song was so successful, you know. So. And I should say, I come from a big family of 8.
Oh my gosh.
And I know when
Yep.
you know, when a new person comes into it, dating somebody, that there is this sort of, you know,
There's like a
checking
new
them out.
person, a part of the
I think
tribe.
especially with the women, you know. I think that
Oh,
we
yeah.
know how guys can be, and we want, you know. I think there's always a sort of extra level of checking somebody out at that level.
Yes.
So, but then the attachment that happens once they're in your life, and add a lot of family events, and you start relating with them. So what a great idea, and I'm sure it's one of those songs that thousands of songwriters think we're saying, well, why didn't I think of that idea? Because it seems obvious, but once you hear it.
Honestly, and everybody who's ever said that to me of like, oh, like I wish I would have, like I said, I wish I was some brilliant human, but I've literally just, lived life. And so to me, some of the best songwriters are the ones who just have lived a full life because you've just experienced so much and you've seen things from different perspectives. And to me, that's what I'm constantly chasing after as a songwriter. I just am wanting to know, things that relate to me, but also I'm so willing to experience new things. And, it just comes from living your life, really.
And you did say it came from a real place.
Yes.
So, and then,
a very real situation. Yeah.
So I think when that's a part of a song, which there's brilliant songs that people wrote that aren't anything about their own lives, but there is something that when you do that and write a song like that, that you draw on something a little deeper. I think so.
Yes, for better or for worse.
Yes.
I didn't even want to write it that way. That was the original concept that I had, but I was so nervous to be that vulnerable in a writing room, and I was like, who's gonna want to listen to this? Like I'm combining romance and family, and that I've never heard somebody do that before. So this might be a terrible idea, but I'm glad I brought it in.
I also should say, there's a organization in town, the Nashville Songwriters Association International, and they have an annual awards show. And one of the awards they give out, and I think the one that is most prestigious, other than maybe getting into the Hall of Fame, is that they pick out one. There's a list of songs that get nominated, and then one song becomes a song that's the song of the year. And it's a song that really, I think part of the explanation is it's a song that everybody else wished they'd written.
Yeah.
And you won that this year. So
I did.
So how did that feel? Being around all these legendary songwriters in the room. And
I usually don't cry, but I was like, that was the most, to me, that's probably been the biggest honor I've received since I've lived here. And there have been so many honors, and not even to downplay anything, but, I moved here as a songwriter. And so to be acknowledged, with my friends, Sam Ellis and Derek Sutherland, who wrote the song with me, for us, to not really be known in this town, but we put our time in and we did, what every legendary songwriter has done. So to feel like we had made it is an irreplaceable feeling, because you just are like, you grow up and you learn how to write based on these other amazing songs that have won Song of the Year. So even to be in that category is still something that has not sunk in yet for me.
And what a grand way of affirmation,
Yes,
that you're on the right
especially
track.
by your peers who are like, everybody is so talented. And to even, I don't know, it's still such a mind-blowing award to me. I never thought in a million years that I'd ever win that.
Yeah. So how do you take that? Do you take that and say, oh my gosh, I have to keep doing it? Is it inspiring or was it daunting? Is it?
Honestly, every song has its own purpose. And I didn't write that song being like, must have Song of the Year. So I think I just am very honored and I'm taking that, but in no way does it make me feel like I need to write another one or, I'm here to serve the song. So whatever is best for a song, I will do. And so whatever happens after that is up to luck and hard work and so many other stars aligning. But at the end of the day, I'm just here to write a song that I'm proud of. So that's about it.
Well, congratulations. Great.
Thank you.
So I think it makes everybody look forward to what comes next.
Don't get your hopes up. I've peaked. Just kidding. Kind of.
No, you haven't. Don't say that. There's much to come.
No, we're just getting started.
Exactly.
I'm living so much life now, so much new experiences that I've been writing about. It's been crazy.
Great. Like if we had time for one last song, I can't believe the time's gone so fast.
I know.
But,
I was gonna say,
yeah.
what, is it really?
Yeah, it's really, we're down to the last song. And, but we'll be on Instagram afterwards, which I'll talk a little bit more after the song.
Yes.
But we have time for one more. So,
Well, then let's do it.
let's do.
So, the last song I'm going to play is the name of my album. And we were talking about moving to Nashville, and, people didn't really like piano or didn't play it. So that was, I thought, the most of my worries. But it turns out, I didn't grow up in the South. I grew up in Colorado. But we had rodeos. Which I went to. We had all of that Western culture. We listened to country music. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to fit right in. Like, I know what I'm doing. But I was told all the time, for some reason, that I was not very ladylike based on how I dressed, how I talked, just everything. And so I was so confused for so long when I lived here, because I was just like, well, where do I fit in then? Because I feel like I'm just being myself, but everybody is telling me how that's not how things are done here. And I was like, I'm pretty sure they could be done however we want them to be here. And I wrote this song to remind myself and everybody that you don't need to fit into a box, and you don't need to fit a stereotype. I think, the reason why music is the way it is and why legends are legends is because they never apologized for who they were. And they just told you the truth. And that's why I wrote this song. And I think we could all be a little more ladylike during this time, because ladylike to me means strong and compassionate and being a leader. So this is Ladylike.
I drink tequila straight, haven't brushed my hair in days, and I'll kiss on the first date if I'm really feeling it. I don't even own a dress, bite my nails when I get stressed, do whatever for attention if I'm needing it. Controversial, so outspoken, I've been told I'm not ladylike, but I'm a ladylike. Whoa, I could bring you to your knees and get you kicked out the Garden of Eden. Untamable, unframeable, Mona Lisa. Oh, kiss you like a whiskey fire, turn around, leave your heart in a riot. Lipstick and a cigarette pack on the dash, I'm a lady like that. Sometimes I forget not to talk about politics when I'm in the middle of me getting hit on. And sometimes I'm not polite, don't bite my tongue, I speak my mind. Let curse words fly when shit goes wrong. Controversial, so outspoken, I've been told I'm not ladylike, but I'm a ladylike. Whoa, I could bring you to your knees and get you kicked out the Garden of Eden. Untamable, unframeable, Mona Lisa. Oh, kiss you like a whiskey fire, turn around, leave your heart in a riot. Lipstick and a cigarette pack on the dash, I'm a lady like that. Oh, I'm a lady like that. Oh, controversial, so outspoken, I've been told I'm not ladylike, but I'm a lady like. Whoa, I could bring you to your knees and get you kicked out the Garden of Eden. Untamable, unframeable, Mona Lisa. Oh, kiss you like a whiskey fire, turn around, leave your heart in a riot. Lipstick and a cigarette pack on the dash, I'm a lady like that.
So powerful. I think this epitomizes what the songwriter session is supposed to be about, which is a songwriter, one instrument. The songs are really stripped down, and you get to hear them at the core.
Yes,
And,
those are my favorite. Honestly, I mean, I love big shows and I love a band, but at the end of the day, I'm such a sucker for just a stripped down version of literally any song written in Nashville. I love it so much.
Well, that's why we do this, and we hope.
Well, thank you for
that people
having
love
me.
doing it. So, we're so grateful for you to be here. Thank you for taking time
Of
to
course.
do that. I've mentioned that Ingrid will be on Instagram at 8 o'clock, so just a few minutes from now. We'll just on songwriter sessions. We're taking next week off because there's something else going on November 3rd. I can't remember. Oh, there's an election. So,
Right.
so we're taking that day off. The songwriter sessions will return on Tuesday, November 10th with Bob Reagan and Mike Byer, which will be a very special show. They're performing for us and talking about their work with Operation Song, which is an organization that empowers veterans, military veterans, and their family members to tell their stories through the process of songwriting. And what Bob does with that has just been incredible. But first, join us tomorrow night, because that's Wednesday, October 28th on YouTube for the world premiere of Big Night at the Museum. It's something we've never done before. It's incredible. It's some of the biggest stars in country music taking our most precious instruments and the artists or the songs they often have direct relationships with, or they were inspired by these people, and they get to play that instrument for a song, and it comes across really powerfully. So I hope you'll join us for that. It's really kind of a one-of-a-kind magical concert, and you'll be glad you tuned in. So anyway, hope to see you over at Instagram here soon. Thanks again, Ingrid.
Thank you.
And y'all keep watching our YouTube page. We got a lot of stuff coming up and a lot to dive into. Thank you for watching.